Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much. I take this opportunity to welcome you back again for this session, the afternoon class. So, could like us we pray before we begin. Our dear loving God, we thank you so much for your love upon our lives and for the calling that you have made unto us as an institution. Thank you for this camp meeting. Thank you for the days that we have had various studies. And as we enter into another session in this afternoon class, be with us, continue guiding our thoughts and our understanding so that we can come into harmony. Let your will always be done in our lives. In Jesus' name I pray. So this is my second class. And if my voice is low, you can signal me with a good sign. I can see. So for those of us who were not there yesterday, I welcome you to today's class. Yesterday, I did a study. And as I said, I'm going to cover the Sunday row Waymark. And as I said, I'm going to do a review of what has been put in our movement, our current understanding. So I'm going to review this study. My focus is I'm going to review when we say of the Sunday law Waymark, there are many things in that Waymark, but my focus in my 3 presentation, I want us to review our understanding as in what's the marker of the Sunday law Waymark. How did we move from a law into an erection? When we say that we mark the Sunday row Waymark, there is the date, yes, I agree. And also there is the event, which is, according to our current understanding, is an erection. So yesterday, as a class, we were able to look at my first point, which was about the lies. So I don't mean that we covered everything for those who missed, but we just covered whatever I wanted my focus was according to my study. So we went through this first point, how does the rise and fall of kingdom, that story is going to help us understand that the mark of the Sunday row is an erection and not a law. We were able to cover a few verses purposely from the book of Revelation, chapter 13 and verse 17 and chapter 17. I'm just doing a simple recap for those who missed. And we say that in Revelation 13 and Revelation 17, we see John according to the language of Revelation 17, John is standing at the sea of the sand, and we mark this prophetically as 1798. And we see he's standing at a transition point between the 5th kingdom and what? The 6th kingdom. And Revelation 17 picks the same story. He gives all the scenario, the piece of the 7 heads, the 10 horns, the same piece. And he says that John is being carried into the wilderness. And the angel tells him, already where you are standing in vision, 5 kingdoms have already done what? And where you are, there is another kingdom which is presently, and another one is yet to come. So still we can say, according to Revelation 17, it is still a transition point between the 5th kingdom and the 6th kingdom, which is presently when John is being carried. And still there is another kingdom which is yet to come, and we said it is the 7th kingdom. And we said now, has at the end of the world, when we are now at the Sunday Row Waymark, we are at the period of the 7th kingdom according to the studies of Acts 27, the ship of Adramyttia. It tells us that from the Waymark of Panium to the Waymark of Sunday Row, there is one kingdom which is going to fall down, and another one is going to do what? To raise up. And we say that it is the 7th kingdom which we are going to see at that Waymark of the Sunday Row. So that was my rebbe yesterday. There were so many discussions, and there were some questions which were raised. And some people who raised the question, unfortunately, they missed. We had a good discussion in the evening, but there is still one pending question. I believe in the Q&A, we're going to tackle that question. So I'm not going to answer that question now because it will take a lot of time. So I want to move forward. So my second point that I want us we consider at this point is the story of Paniam. So when we talk of Paniam, we understand that in the line of 144,000, if this is our line, I don't want to go to all the dispensation. We mark Paniam in the second dispensation, all right? So if this is 2001, this is the Waymark of the Sunday Row, and this is the time period of the Hari Rain. We have 2 small Waymarks, and according to my story, this is Lavia, and this is what? Paniam. So when we talk of Paniam, this word we get it from the studies of Revelation chapter 11, especially verse 13. So when we speak of Paniam, what comes in your mind? There are other names that are related to this name, Paniam. If we take the repeating pattern, whereby at this Waymark, a message is being unsealed, it gets increased of knowledge. Which Waymark is this? Polymerization. So when you hear Paniam, don't be so much scared. Another name for Paniam, you can easily say it is a polymerization. We can also call this Waymark, according to our several repeating pattern. We have Boston Concord. We call this as an Exeter. So this is the Waymark of Exeter. We also call it as agitation for the next Waymark, which is the Sunday Row. So in other words, this Waymark Paniam is a very important Waymark for us because it's going to help us to understand how the Sunday Row is going to look like. It's an agitation of the coming event. So when we talk of the Sunday Row, we all know this is, according to the Bible, the prophets of Daniel. This is Daniel 11 verse what? 41. And when you talk of verse 41, we are already talking about a war between the king of the north, conquering what? Glorious land. Conquering glorious land, or king of the north versus the glorious land. But when you come back to the Waymark of Paniam, it's not the same story. Now things change. This is the war between the king of the north versus the king of the south. You see, now we don't have a same story, and we want us to understand this Waymark. Here, when we read Paniam, Daniel 11 verse 13, It's a war of the king of the north versus the king of the south. But when you read Sunday Row, it's a war of the king of the north is conquering the glorious land. So what we are going to do in our study, we must look for the same story so that we can be able to overlay on top of between Paniam and Sunday Row. When we get a similar story that is talking about a king of the north conquering the glorious land, it's going to help us have a clear understanding how this story of Paniam is going to help us understand the mark of the Sunday Row as an erection. So when we talk of Paniam, now I think I can maybe write here. So this is Paniam. This is the Sunday Row Waymark. So the story that can help us understand this, we can go to our understanding of the midnight cry message. So the midnight cry message gave us some battles, some wars. Like which one? A shout from the congregation. Which battles do we get from the midnight cry that is so familiar? Joy? We have Ipsas. Yes. Benophentum. I can say Pyrrhus. Pyrrhus in Macedonia and Pyrrhus in Italy. So we can say we have a story about a part of Pyrrhus in Macedonia. We have Pyrrhus. This is the Arva history, which is in Macedonia. And then the same character, we have Pyrrhus in Italy. Another part that we can get, we can talk of the Diadochi Wars. I'm not going to cover the details of it. We have Diadochi Wars, especially the Dutch Diadochi War, plus the Fourth Diadochi War. And these wars they help us understand how World War II looks like. So, and then after understanding all those things, we take all those concepts so that we can understand World War III. So, when we talk of Pyrrhus in Macedonia, I'm not going to cover everything. The story that lines up, or the date that lines up between Paniam and Sunday Row is 287 BC. We have 287 BC. This is 287. Let me write clearly. 287 BC. And this Waymark of Sunday Row lines up with 285 BC. So in that year of 287 BC, if you remember so well, I just want to state it as a fact, it's a war between the king of the north versus the king of the south. This is a war between the king of the north versus king of the south. If you remember the story, just to state a few points about that year, it was a war between Demetrius fighting against Pyrrhus. So in 287 BC, Demetrius as the king of the north versus Pyrrhus. And what they are fighting for is Macedonia. We all know that. When they fight, who is going to win? Who wins? Do you remember? Who is going to win? Pyrrhus wins. Who wins? The king of the north is defeated, Demetrius. but Pyrrhus is going to win. But again, after that, immediately after that, oh, okay, Pyrrhus was packed by the other three friends. We call them the three Harais, where Lysimachus, who else? Seleucus and Ptolemy. So what they do after winning, they begin what we call a Cold War. This is the time period of a Cold War. Between now Pyrrhus and Lysimachus. Lysimachus is using a lot of information warfare, is using a lot of propaganda, is fighting against Pyrrhus, and they fight all the way. By the year 287 BC, we see Pyrrhus is being defeated. He surrenders, he goes back to Epirus. So this war goes all the way to the Omega history, which also is between the year this is 275 and this is 272. So after Pyrrhus being defeated, there is a war between now Rome and Tarentum. And Tarentum, I'm just giving a summary. We see Tarentum seeking help from Pyrrhus around TC, just before this Waymark of 275, in between 285 and 275. And then now, once that war continues for the fight of Macedonia, they end up coming to the war between Pyrrhus and Rome. So by the year 275, the war that Pyrrhus has been having versus Rome, we see Rome is winning. And we say this is the Waymark that Isabella was talking about, Beneventum. And we say this is Argos. And this in between we get the Waymark 273. I don't want to go into those stories. So still, it is giving us the story between the king of the north and the king of the south. And remember our mission, we're looking at a war between the king of the north versus conquering what? The glorious land. So when we talk of World War II, this Waymark of Panium, we line it up with 1945. And this is 1989. This now is easy. Who is fighting now, who and who? Esther, you remember? Who, yeah, who is the king of the north? US by then was the king of the north. Who is the king of the north? German. So German or Itra, isn't it? We can say German as the king of the north. And here we have Mussolini, who is the king of the north, the south, that's USSR. Now, Mussolini is being backed by Britain, and who is being backed by the other allies like USA. So we have a backup. We have Britain, and this is USA. And we have also France. We call them the West Allies. So in this war, King of the North, Germany, is going to be defeated. And what we see, King of the South, who is being backed by USA, is going to do what? To win. Now in our story, we're there. In this Waymark of 1945, we can line up with Panium, whereby we're seeing there is a war between the King of the North versus, now King of the South becomes Noise. We take USA, and this USA that is fighting is backing up the King of the South. It's a symbol of the glorious land. Now we have a story. In 1945, we can line it up with Panium, whereby we can see a war between the King of the North versus what? The glorious land. I hope nobody is being lost. So once we have a story, now we want to have an event. Let's open a quote to SM. 2SM 102.1. So we're going to read 2SM 102.1. Okay, let me read. It says, there are those now living who, in starting the prophecies of Daniel and John, received great light from God as they passed over the ground, where special prophecies were in process of fulfillment in their order. They poured the message of time to the people. The truth shone out clearly as the sun at noonday. Historical events showing the direct fulfillment of prophecy were set before the people, and the prophecy was seen to be a figurative delineation of events leading down to the close of this hard history. So what we're going to look for is an historical event in this year of Paniam. So Paniam, where do I write? Paniam is which year? 2021, isn't it? This is 2021. And the quote is telling us there is an historical event which is a prophecy. So in that year of 2021, the event, when you are at the present, the event that you are able to see we have the structure that I had yesterday. I know we had a discussion that we didn't agree. So if this is number 1, this is Isaiah 46, verse 10. This is the past. We are at the present. This is our future. So we are looking for an event, which is history, that's going to help us understand this. So, and we have said in the year 2021, what is the event? This one we are all familiar. I don't want to say it. What event do we see in the year 2021, which is going to point us to an agitation of the Sunday law? Sorry? I pick one person. Mutunga. Yes, January 6th. So in that event, it's an historical event, yes, we agree. January 6, 2021, what we see, there was a controversy of an election, isn't it? So in that event, it has really helped us as an agitation for our event, which is coming the Sunday rule. So anybody else with a question up to that point? Or a comment? So, yes? Yes. Yes. Okay. Okay. I hope you all got the question. Okay, yeah. Lend me your name. Geoffrey is asking, approach this war of 1945. If I misquote you, you tell me, isn't it? That is it a beginning all the way to 2021? Is that the question? Oh, all the way to? Okay, I didn't finish this part of it. So once we see, okay, those people who are online, Geoffrey is asking, there is a war, I've said there is a war between the king of the north and the king of the south. Is it the same war which is going to continue the way to 1989? Isn't it? That's the question. So who's going to answer? I know people know this story. Stephen, are you going to respond?
The question like is it the same war that we are seeing from the beginning to the end?
No, I don't know. That's not the question. He's asking whether it is going to end in 1989, this war of 1945. Yeah, ending in 1989, not up to 2021.
I think it does not.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for your opinion. Okay, I agree with you, but it changes the prayers after 1989. But for your case, Geoffrey, this war, it was a war between the king of the north and the king of the south. This is Germany versus USSR. We see this now a Cold War. Just like the other story, a Cold War between king of the north versus the king of the south. By the end we reach in the year 1989, the prayers have changed. We're no longer talking of USSR, now we're talking of Russia versus the king of the north, which is the USA. So here is the king of the north versus king of the south, and this is Russia, and this is USA. There's a story there, I think you know it. So, and then we mark this Waymark in 1989, the fall of the Berlin Wall. That that was dividing West and Eastern Germany. So, as per your question, to my understanding, it ends in 1989, and then now the beginning of World War III. I hope I've answered you. Is that okay?
Yes, but the difference from that what is somewhere which you are supposed to be
Yeah. If I got you well, okay. What I did, I wanted to understand this Waymark of Panium. That's where I began. And when I read the verses, Daniel 11, verse 13, the war of Panium is the war of the king of the north versus the king of the south. But in verse 41, it's a war between king of the north versus the glorious land. So I use this story to help me understand how this Waymark is going to look like presently. So I went to the midnight cry and I got all these battles. When we talk of pirates in Macedonia, the Waymark that lines up with Panium is 287 BC to 285 BC. And it's a war between the king of the north versus the king of the south. Just trying to explain it, but it can't help us in our story. It's not the same story that we want to now. When we talk of the Omega is in pirates in now Italy, the Waymark of Panium, it ends up with 275 BC, which is the part of the Independence, to the Waymark of 272 BC. And in the year 275 BC, it's a part of the king of the north versus the king of the south. Rome is fighting, has been fighting with Pyrrhus. And you see, Rome is winning, Pyrrhus is that what? It's ruthless. And that story cannot help us understand how this event of the sun is going to look like. I got the same midnight cry. I see there's a war of the king of the north versus the king of the south. But when you zoom in, you see the king of the south is being backed by other allies. You have USA, you have Britain, and you have France. But this USA is a symbol of a glorious land. So I have a story that I want to put here so that you can help me understand this event of the sun in Rome. Because in this German versus the king of the south, Germans lost. The king of the north lost the war, but the king of the south won. He was being backed by the understand. What I'm going to say, when you come to this Waymark of Panium, the king of the north is not going to lose. This Waymark here. King of the north versus glorious. It is the time for the king of the north to win because it is the final event. The king of the north is going to do what? To win. So basically, and then we have read a quote. We have seen that at present, when you are standing present, you see events taking place. So we are standing in the year 2021, and we see an event. And the event that we tag to this Panium is the agitation, which is January 6, 2021, which we see it's a controversy of an election. So we say the future coming event, which is a Sunday row, the controversy which we are going to have is the king of the north is going to, or the seventh kingdom is going to come to power through an election. So my story of the Panium that I wanted us to consider is going to help us see that the mark of the Sunday row is going to be an election. I hope that can help. Oh, thank you so much. So I want to move to my second point. Can you take a photo? Sorry. You can share the photo. Sorry. I saw Carl taking it. Yeah. It will be shared. So we have already talked about Panium. We're going to talk. Are we all familiar of the symbol of the initials? Who doesn't know from the class when I talk of QFMG? Q is Quintus, F is Fabius, M is Maximus, and Churches. Are we all aware of that? Is there anybody who is lost? Yes, yeah. So this name QFMG, where do we find it? When you hear of it, what comes in your mind? Which story comes in your mind? Sorry, someone is whispering. Pyrrhus, yes. What about from the Bible? Yeah, I agree, it's Pyrrhus. Acts 27. So this name, we found it in a structure, or as Esther is telling us, from the same structure that I've just drawn. So if this is 275 BC, we have 272 BC. We find Quintus, Fabius, Maximus, Churches. And this is the Waymark of the Sunday law. isn't it? According to that study, we have 273 in between. And just to give a summary, we say in 275, the king of the north versus the king of the south. Rome is fighting Pyrrhus, and we see Rome is doing what? Winning. And by the year 273, Egypt is going to send some recognition to Rome because they have been fighting this common enemy, Pyrrhus, and they have won. So they recognize and they send a recognition. By 272, Rome sends ambassadors to Egypt, and their leader was the name Quintus Fabius Maximus Churches. So according to Etates, Sionel talked of Maximus Churches, which means is maximum what? Fraud. So she just said, if you listen to our studies, that I can see Maximus Churches lining up with the Waymark of Sandero 272, which is Argos, but I don't know what it means. But at least she has given us some green light that by the Waymark of Sandero, we're going to see what we call a frat, a symbol. We take it, a frat. The word frat is a symbol for the Sandero, isn't it? Are we correct? Am I correct to say that? So as we come back, try to analyze the other symbols. We have Quintus. We have Fabius. So we say Quintus from the word quintris. You are only named this name, quintris, if you are born on the 5th month or you are the 5th son. And then we have a Roman Caesar by the name Julius. And this is, which calendar is this? That gives us quintris with the, as the 5th month. If you remember, someone to shout. Is it Julian? Is Julian the same as Roman calendar? Someone is speaking. Which calendar gives us the 5th month, quintris as the 5th month? You said which calendar? Julian. Do we all agree? Me, I call it Roman calendar. I don't know whether it is the same calendar. It is the same calendar. If I speak of Roman calendar and someone talks of Julian, it is the same calendar. Let's call it Roman calendar. Joy, you are smiling. It's Roman calendar. I'm not saying that you are wrong. It's only that I'm not familiar with Julian calendar. I don't know. They're the same. Oh, then that's okay. This is Julian calendar. But now there's a Roman Caesar, because of his own reasons. He wants maybe something, a big event to occur. He changes this calendar to which one? What was the calendar? Solar calendar. There was changing of calendar. So the 5th month becomes the 7th month. I call it solar calendar or Gregorian. So, and then we have Fabius. He comes from Papa beans. And these beans, in that time period, they were used for rotaries, for erection, and all those. So Papa pins, these pins were special. They were white and some were black, and they were used for 14 or erection. So up to that point, is there a question? Okay. This is the Jurian. Okay. You have Googled. Anybody else? Something with a burning question? So when we talk of the symbol flood, this flood, we can take it to the Bible to understand it more. Which chapter, which book and chapter do we go to? Revelation chapter? Another one? Do you have a verse? I wasn't prepared. Okay, verse 16. And the heart helped a woman, and the heart opened her mouth and swallowed up the flood. Yeah, you have verse 16. Also verse 15. And the shepherd cast out of his mouth water as flood. So you can see that in verse 15 and verse 16. Another chapter, you remember, which talks about flood? Verse Daniel 9, verse 26. So we can read that. So 9:26 says, it says, and after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. And the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary. And the hand therefore shall be with a flood, and unto the hand of the war, desolations are done what? Determined. So when is the Messiah cut? We can put this verse in a line. It says, verse 26, after 62 weeks shall the Messiah be cut. So when the Messiah is being cut, is which year? 31 BC. It says the Messiah is done what? Is cut off. Are we correct? Say that. And then it says, but not for himself, and the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city. When do we see that? So we have 70 AD. People of prince. Do what? Destroy the city. And we say that is 70 AD. The city and the sanctuary. Yes? Oh, fine. Thank you. Are you able to see this? Okay. We said we are trying to understand the word flood from the Bible. So this is Daniel 9, verse 26. We have said that one PC. Are you able to see now? Sorry? Sir. Thank you. Messiah is done what? Is cut off. Someone speaking? We said the people of the prince. The prince is in small letters. And we said that is 70 AD. So you have 70 AD. City, brass sanctuary. And we say that's Roman destroying the work they did in 70 AD. And then the first says, was verse 26, shall come and destroy the city and the sanctuary. And the hand therefore shall be with a flood. And shall be. So which year is that? 538. The hand therefore is with a flood, which is 538. What is remaining? The first. Let me. And to the end of the war, desolation shall be determined. When is that? When are the desolation determined? So we can see flood in 538, and we say this is also a Sunday law. So from that symbol, from all the way from the book of Acts 27, we went to the store of Pyrrhus and Omega East of Pyrrhus. We see that symbol is being seen in 272. And from the studies of Acts 27, we know that this is also called Argos. And that in 272 PC, we see the word flood. And we have taken that, we can see, confirmed from the scripture, that it lines up with 538 AD, sorry. I'm used up with PC, I don't know why. So up to that point, is there a question? Anybody with a burning comment? How many minutes do I have? Sorry? Oh, 25. Okay, thank you. So another symbol that I want us to consider Julius Caesar. So when we talk of Julius Caesar, we see that if we use the same structure, where is it? I had left it. So if this is our structure, and this is Daniel 11 verse 41, we see the king of the north is conquering the glorious land. Conquering the glorious land. That's according to Daniel 11 verse 41. So when we talk of that, now we have Julius Caesar, this story of Julius Caesar that we want to analyze and see how it's going to help us understand that at the time we reach, if this is Sunday law, that the marker is what? An erection. Someone has a question? Something you want to understand? Oh, it's just minor. Oh, the spelling. Is that correct? Is that how it's written? Okay, thank you, thank you. So, so we want to look for a story that's going to help us understand how Julius Caesar is going to help us understand that the mark of the Sunday law is an erection and not a law, isn't it? So when we go to Daniel 11 verse 41, if we read Daniel 11, not 41, Daniel 11 verse 16, someone can read the verse. It says, but he that cometh against him shall do according to his own will, and none shall stand before him. He shall stand in the glorious land, which by his son be consumed. So what we are seeing in that verse, we have a power that is doing what? Conquering the glorious land, isn't it? So we can easily say that Daniel 11 verse 41 is also equivalent to Daniel 11 verse what? 16. Because what we're seeing in both verses is a power is conquering what? The glorious land. And that's the power that we want to do what? To understand. So in that verse, we have pronouns. We have the he and the him. So who is the he and who is the him in those verses? We have he, we have him. Who is the he? $16. Who is the he according to our story? That's Lom, isn't it? We see the he is Lom. Who is the him now, Joy? Sorry, Josephine? This is Syria, and this is Bombay. So, and which year start Bombay conquering the glorious land? It's conquering Syria. Or at first, it's before 63 BC. If we have our structure, Rome has to conquer how many obstacles? 3 obstacles. And in our story, we have Syria. We have another obstacle, which is Rome, which is Judea, sorry. And then we will conquer Egypt. So when Rome is conquering Syria, which year is that? Someone is saying 63, but I can put here 63 BC. And this is 65 BC, isn't it? We're correct? So we see in that verse, if we go back to that verse, you can divide it into 2 parts. It says, but he that cometh against him, Rome is going to conquer Syria in 65 BC. If we remember that story. And again, in part 2, he shall stand in the glorious land. So we have the same story. After Rome, by this time, Rome has not become the king of the north. But when it has conquered Syria, it's progressively becoming the king of the north. So by the year 63 BC, it's going to enter the glorious land, which we call Judea. So this is Judea, or glorious land. So we line up that verse with Daniel 11 verse 41. But still our story that we wanted to understand is who? Julius Caesar. So how do we move from there to Julius Caesar? So when we look in that story, I'm not a very good historian. Esinyeni maybe can do that. When we look in that story, we have a Caesar by the name Julius. He's also trying to stand up. There is a big position, 2 positions that he wants to hold in Rome. Who remembers the name? The 2 positions that he was fighting against I can call the other people, I don't know whether the conservative or what. There is a position that he was running for. It's called Pontifex Maximus. You remember that? Yes. So Julius Caesar, he wants to be Maximus. Which position is that? Head of? It's a religious position, isn't it? He wants to be head of churches, which is a religious position. Another position? There was a judicial position. How do we pronounce the word? Let me write. Is Steve Nyamoya here? It's not around. There was a judicial position. How do we call it? Pro? So those are the two positions that Julius Caesar. So when you go to that story, it has taken you to the Bible. You have got a power that is conquering the glorious land. And we have seen it is Pompey who is doing this work. He's conquering the glorious land Judea in 63 BC. But in that same year, 63 BC, there is an external event that is taking place. We have Julius Caesar, who is vying for a very important position, which is Pontifex Maximus. He wants to be the head of churches and also wants to take the position of judicial. Someone will pronounce that. Maybe Snyder can do that. So, and what we see in that time period, what is happening is an erection. And we say that 63 BC, we line up with what? Sunday law. So, Sunday law, we also line up with 63 BC. So, that history of Julius Caesar has really helped us to see that at the Waymark of the Sunday law, there is an event coming which is an erection. So up to that point, I don't know whether there is someone with a comment, an addition, or a question. So I have a new point that I may not wish to introduce because of the timing. So I can only do a recap, and if someone has a question, you can ask, we can answer in the evening Q&A. Yes, Sunday? Yes. Yes. Okay. Okay. You write it as a question or you can answer it. Like how many minutes do we have, Sabina? 2 or 12? Okay, someone from class who understood. You said the question is, I recap for the online people.
Where you go for black.
Yes.
That black is here.
Yeah. Yes.
And black is back.
Yes.
So that you can understand better.
Yeah.
But now, I don't know how you come to Daniel 11 verse 16.
Oh, okay. I think that Daniel chapter 9, verse 26, we were trying to understand the word fraud, because when we take the symbol Quintus Fabius Maximus churches, Maximus churches is a symbol of a fraud, maximum fraud. So, and we can see that symbol in 272 BC, which is also a Sunday law in our time period when we overrate the stories. So when we look for that symbol in the Bible, it takes us first into the book of Revelation, chapter 12, verse 15 and 16, of which I didn't analyze. And then it also took us to the book of Daniel 9, verse 26. And you are also saying it's a repeat and enlarge in verse 27, of which I agree. So I just only picked verse 26, and I've tried to analyze that verse here. It is talking about the Messiah being cut off, and we have said 31 is 31 AD. And we see the people of the prince coming to destroy the city and the sanctuary. That is 7th AD. And you see that it's also talking that the hand of it all is with a fraud. We said that is 538 AD, according to the applications. And then the solutions are determined in 1798. And we say that when we talk of 538 AD, we also line it up with the Waymark of the Sunday rule. And then you were asking of Daniel 11 verse 16. Okay, Daniel 11 verse 16, I was talking of the story of Julius Caesar. And our great question that we are asking in my presentation is, how does the story of Julius Caesar help us to see the mark of the Sunday law as an erection and not a law? So for us to get a story or an hook, we went to the book of Daniel 11 verse 16. In that story, we see a power is conquering what? The glorious land. We started all the way from 65 BC. We see Rome is going to conquer Syria in 65 BC. And in 63 BC, Rome, Pompey enters or conquers the glorious land. And we line up 63 BC with the Waymark of the Sunday rule. That's how I brought 11, 16 to that verse. And we see that our key point that we wanted to understand is Julius Caesar. So when you zoom into that story, you see there is an external event. Rome is, Judea is being conquered. Pompey is conquering the glorious land. But also externally, Julius Caesar is vying for a very big position, which is called Pontifex Maximus, and another one called, how do you pronounce this word? Elsa? The judicial position. Yeah, that word. So we say that in those two positions, he won them through an election. And we say that 63 BC, we line it up with our Sunday rule Waymark. I don't know whether that helps Sunday. Yes.
Take that class and bring it our time. We need to do some research and also look at some history so that we can come up with the better understanding of the plan at our time.
Yes. Okay, we needed, to me, I see that we needed to understand more of the front. You can also go to the verses that have been given, but I just go to Daniel chapter 9, verse 26. It's more clear for me. Is there anybody who can respond to that question? Yes, Naida? Yes. Yes. Yeah.
The conquering of the ancient glorious land and how that shows the conquering of verse 21.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, sure. Is that so? Oh, sure. Yeah. I think maybe you didn't get me clear. There are different points. Is that okay, Marang? Oh, not Marang. Sunday? So just to recap on what Snyder is saying, of which I agree with her, Quintus Fabius Maximus churches, we took M and G Maximus churches, which gives us the word maximum fraud. And we took that as a symbol. We went to the book of Daniel chapter 9, verse 26, to understand more of it. We did with that and we finished. And now I come to a different point, which is Julius Caesar. How is this story of Julius Caesar is going to help us see that the mark of the Sunday law is an erection and not a law? So we have to go back to the Bible. We went to the story of Pompey, and that story of Pompey takes us to 63 BC. The same here, where we see Julius Caesar is vying for the highest position in that land, which is Pontifex Maximus. That's how I related to them. Are you somewhere? No, you can ask if you are not comfortable. Sorry? Oh, you're okay with that? Okay. Yes, FIP. In the reign of? Yes.
Here is conquered. Yes. The training there is conquered. Yes. When is it conquered? That one, that's one. Oh, I think thing is the right. Thank you, Faith, for that. And the clarification. So, for the few minutes, maybe I can cover the few points that will come.
Our task here in this camp, in my studies, I want us to understand the Sunday row Waymark in connection with it being marked as an event that we call an erection and not a law, as we had previous understanding. So yesterday we went through Rise and Fall of Kingdoms. We tackled Bible verses, Revelation 13, Revelation 17. We understood how the fifth kingdom came to power. The first five from that quote of Ellen G. White, Great Controversy 439. Do you remember? What was the quote? 439. Yeah, it was Great Controversy. And we see that Ellen G. White is trying to explain that the first five beasts, they are being referred as beasts of prey, that they came into power through conquest and revolution. That's through war. But this beast that is rising out of the herd, which has what, two horns like a lamb and speaks like a dragon, comes into praise peacefully, and it is through an erection. That one we established yesterday. So, and we say that through many studies, especially from the Midnight Cry message, we are able to see that at the Sunday row Waymark, we see there is a kingdom rising and a kingdom falling down. And we see that the seventh kingdom is going to rise and mark the Sunday row through an erection. And we have looked at the story of Paniam. And Paniam is found in the reign of 144,000, as we have seen, between 2001 to Sunday row. And in that Waymark of Paniam, we see an event, which is January 6. And the controversy that we see, the ideologies that are being fought there, is concerning the erection. And we have also looked at Quintus Fabius Maximus churches, and name that we get from the structure or the store of Pyrrhus, and it points us to the year 272 BC, where we see Quintus Fabius Maximus churches being sent with other delegates, him being a reader, back to Egypt. And we try to analyze this word from the time period when the Midnight Cry message was given. Maximus Pratt, we went to the Bible in Daniel chapter 9. We can line it in the year 538 AD, and we connect that with a frat or the Sunday row Waymark. And we have also talked of Julius Caesar, and we went back to that story. We went back to the year 63 BC, and in the Bible, that's in the book of Daniel 11 verse 16, we see a power conquering the glorious land. And now we have a story that we have a power conquering the glorious land, and we have analyzed and seen that this is Pompey entering into the land of Judea. But in the same year, because we want to understand more of the Sunday row, we see externally Julius Caesar is vying for the biggest position in the land. That's the head of churches, Pontifex Maximus, and a judicial position of which he won through an election. So in the 4 points that we have been able to discuss, they have really proved that the Sunday row Waymark, up to this moment, we can comfortably mark it being marked as an event, which is an erection and not a law as we previously understood. So unless there is a burning question, it can be taken, written down, so that we can tackle it in the evening Q&A, together with the other question that we were not able to come into an agreement. Is there anybody with a question? Okay, thank you so much. Then we can finish with a word of prayer. Our dear loving God, we thank you so much for this far you have read us, even in this camp meeting. Thank you for the session that we have had, for the sacred histories that we are looking into so that we can understand currently where we are in our dispensation. Help us individually and as a group that we can understand these truths and we can understand more of your character. And as we wish to understand more of the seventh kingdom, help us, O Lord, that we can have clarity of thought and understanding as we share thoughts and ideas in the course of this camp. Let your will always be done until when we shall meet again in the evening. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.